The Ghost and the Darkness is a personal recommendation of mine. Not many people who I've spoken to have seen this film, and since it dates back to the mid-1990s, chances are many of the newer generation of moviegoers have never heard of it either. Based loosely on a true story, the film tells the tale of the two Lions of Tsavo. These man-eaters amassed an incredible toll of deaths. The true figure will always remain a mystery, but way back when, one of Africa's most famous tales was due a big cinematic adaptation. In Africa, a railroad project with some sizable investment behind it was falling behind schedule. One of its main financiers, Robert Beaumont, is irate with this news and enlists the expertise of military engineer Colonel John Patterson to bring things back on track. Not as easy as it may have first seemed though. After arriving to the news of a recent lion attack, Patterson vowed to sort it out, and after very impressively taking out a lion on his first night with one single shot, morale went sky high and everything looked to be in hand. Until it really wasn't. That lion was just a mere taste of things to come. Shortly after Patterson's feat and substantial progress had been made on the bridge, Mahina, the foreman for the railroad, was dragged from his tent, tore to shreds and was later found dead and half-eaten. Only then a grisly reality set in place. The lions instilled fear into every person involved around Tsavo. They were hunting for sport, for the thrill, and no amount of blood would sate their unearthly habits. And after Patterson failed to avert further bloodshed, including that of Angus Starling, who was one of the area's supervisors, Beaumont and his higher-ups decided it was time to call in a big game hunter. Step forth Charles Remington as Michael Douglas's character looked to add the Tsavo lions to his famed and world-renowned reputation. Now, I enjoyed the build-up and in a way the slower-paced first third of the film, but Remington's introduction without any question injected pace and certainly more firepower into the story. His aim was to come in, kill the lions and get out. Simple as that. He had no interest in building the bridge, and he knew how much of a pain in the neck Beaumont was, so he was looking at Patterson to do them both a favour. Val Kilmer does a great job here. Patterson's swagger and confidence was in abundance in the beginning, but getting hit some more, and then hit again, he was starting to second guess himself. That's why his pair off with Douglas's Remington when they began hunting together was essential for his character, at least in the film. He needed that lift, and with so much experience behind someone like that, he sought advice on how to bounce back from it. But as the film went on, even with someone of Remington's experience could stand to still take a hit or two. These lions weren't acting like lions. They killed for pleasure, and after a failed hunt and a terrible slaughter in the newly built hospital, both of them wanted to take the offensive. They went after the lions, discovered their lair and the horrifying truth that laid within. The tension was starting to build. The ambience and music really became immersive and more in tone with the horror, and that's why this section of the film was my most favourite. It made you begin fearing the lions and their next attack. I mean, the lion attacks were quite grisly anyway, which is why the film is rated R, so if you didn't have the correct amount of fear built up by this point, this section with its tense soundtrack will definitely suffice. Patterson's plan here was wacky. His little contraption was like having himself as the carrot on a stick. His first plan of trapping the lion in that cage was a good concept at least, but this? Not so much. Remington voiced his concern but insisted the plan went ahead because he thought the lions were after him. And turns out he was right. Good thing too, because his skill is what saved Patterson when he most needed it. Remington struck true with his shot and killed one of the lions. However, it was short-lived. His character committed the most obvious monologue in the film, which meant he wouldn't survive the night. And with it down to 1 versus 1, would it be Patterson or the one remaining lion that would live to tell the tale? Well, we know the answer to that one, as the story for what we're watching now likely wouldn't have passed if it was one of the man-eaters who ruled the land. My overall verdict for The Ghost and the Darkness is a solid 8 out of 10. Say what you may, but I really enjoy this film. Back in its day, I understand it got panned and had quite a mixed reception, but sorry, nope, I think it's a very good film. Sure, it's nothing groundbreaking, and it has a bit of a choppy story where some parts are clearly missing, but it was an enjoyable survival adventure. An example of a section of the story omitted entirely would have been where the lions had killed a handful of people to all of a sudden they were above the 30 mark. That was quite a big jump, but it didn't really bother me at all because at least I assume the toll got to that number via similar circumstances for the first victims. Val Kilmer leads the cast well, and Michael Douglas's inclusion adds that little extra star power that the film may or may not have needed. Remington in reality is actually completely fictional, but I guess they needed someone in a mentorish role to help out Patterson when he was in dire need. Plus, when adapting real-life events, what played out in reality wouldn't necessarily translate on screen and be a thrill to watch. I guess that's what the producers were thinking. Douglas, despite not being seen in the film until the 45-minute mark, is actually credited as the top billed. Val Kilmer is the clear lead though, regardless of the bill order, and the other notable character, Samuel, who also duos as the film's narrator, is a charismatic figure to everyone in the area. His character is one of the strongest in the film. He's kind-hearted, funny, strong-willed, and I don't know if the film as a whole would have worked quite as well without his presence. Now, let's talk about the lions themselves, because what specimens they were, eh? We only thought there was one of them until that surprise ambush revealed them to be a pair. But when on screen, they were incredible. I might be wrong here, but after doing a little bit of research, apparently many of the shots with these lions is actually a trained lion involved. It would explain why they looked so damn impressive on screen, and if that is the case, a hell of a lot of credit should be thrown in the direction of the trainer's stand-up job. Now, if we're being factual, Patterson isn't really an engineer, he was just commissioned to oversee the construction of the bridge, and he actually killed both lions. Remington's character, as we've said, is completely made up, and the two Tsavo lions are indeed maneless. And if you want to see the lions, as Samuel says at the end of this film, to this day they remain over in the Field Museum in Chicago, Illinois. The Ghost and the Darkness is an enjoyable adventure in the continent of Africa. It has its flaws and imperfections, but on the whole gives us a loosely based true story about two of the most famous lions that have ever walked the earth. And it was the case that Tsavo on more than a number of occasions truly became a place of slaughter. So what did you guys think of The Ghost and the Darkness? Did you enjoy this story? Do you have any gripes with the film in general? And what was your take on Remington's character? Was he needed or not? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the review. And I'll see you on the next one.